lovely Khalilah with us. She is a mindset and life coach and a mental health advocator. So we're super excited to have her as one of our guest speakers today. So without further ado, I'm going to let you take it away and introduce yourself.
Hi, guys. My name is Khalilah Bruzual. Think of tequila with a K. You name it, I've been through it. And because of that, they call me the overcomer. Unfortunately, I've been through molestation, I've been through rape, I've been through in and out of group homes, foster homes. I was on my own since I was 14. I was in a dysfunctional family. I grew up with abuse and neglect, like you name it, had low self esteem, was a high school dropout, and somehow, by the grace of God, still managed to become something in my life. Still went to school. I managed to graduate from high school at the age of 29, even though I had taken some college and university classes. I took an interest in accounting for a little while, and then I got into child and youth worker. I had to stop that and get back into my administrative assistant because things were going crazy in my life. Finished my child and youth worker. Um, Ended up getting into being sick and not really being able to follow it. But because I really have this heart for helping people, I started being an advocate and I started being a motivational speaker. Fast forward, I'm traveling and I'm doing things and I'm helping people and I'm putting on programs. And then 4 years ago, where I thought I was just about to go into my peak of prime, I ended up in a car accident. I was the driver and I got hit from the passenger side. I got diagnosed with something called fibromyalgia, which is a chronic pain. That means that even as I'm speaking to you, my lower back and spine hurt, but I look good. and
You
that um, it means that I live with pain every single day. It means that my whole body, my myofascial and my musculoskeletal, are inflamed. I have something called PNES, which is psychogenic non-epileptic seizures, which means that I don't get regular seizures from the brain waves, but they're more psychological issues. So I could get triggered by sound or environments or experiences or different things like that. Now, I'm lucky that my body doesn't drop on the floor and shake, but I do have things like tremors. I have things like brain fog. I have things where my concentration doesn't work the same way, my body doesn't work the same way. Started to motivate, change my space from being talking about youth and young adults and empowering young women to coming into a space where the chronic pain community I found was very, unfortunately, sad and dark and depressed. And I wanted to bring some light into it to show people that there's still a way to find happiness in the midst of pain. And then last year, even after getting to a place where my life was just, growing and getting a little bit better with my health, I got into another car accident. And so I have been going through a lot in my life, but I'm still standing. And that's why they call me the overcomer. And what I do is not only am I a chronic pain coach, but I'm a life coach and I'm a mindset coach because even in the midst of all of this, I want people to understand, I want people to learn, I want people to be educated on the fact that pain and pleasure can be in the same space. You can be in pain emotionally, mentally, psychologically, physically, but there's also a place where one of those aspects can also bring you pleasure. There's a place where you have to learn how to pace yourself. There's a place where you have to learn how to love yourself. There's a place where you have to let go and forgive different things. There's a place where you have to learn how to advocate for yourself. And so I pretty much put on workshops and I put on chronic pain work chronic pain workshops and mindset workshops, and I advocate for mental health, especially in this area, because when you deal with pain, it affects you so much. And what people don't know is that the suicide rate in the chronic pain community, um, there is actually a high percentage because people don't want to live with this. And when you're on the floor crying, just begging for some kind of relief, and there's nothing that's actually triggered it except for your own body, it's a real difficult thing. It really is.
I can imagine. And you know what? Thank you so much for just sharing and giving us a little bit of a breakdown on what it is that you do. And I understand that in that you talked a lot about like that chronic pain community and like just kind of finding that happiness and that balance between pleasure and pain, which I find so fascinating. And just like how you have been able to kind of do that with your workshops and educating people and just changing that mindset. So again, I am super excited to have you here. Okay.
Mhm.
So, you did that little bit of an introduction of yourself. So, and you touched upon some of your battles and your struggles. Just how have you managed to kind of overcome that?
Um, there is actually there's an acronym that I've come up with in terms of people ask me this question all the time. And it kind of goes with my name, Overcomer. So the O is for do an overview. You want to take an overview of what is really going on with your current situation. A lot of times when stress comes and affects us, we add additional thoughts and stress to our lives. But sometimes you need to stop and do a check and go, how badly am I actually bleeding? How bad am I cut? How deep is this actual wound? And then on top of it, you go into that V where you want to be victorious. You want to walk into your situation knowing that you're going to walk out of it. Your life is already a proof of that. There's this place where, we where woe is me. And nobody said that life was going to be perfect. I know that we read fables and fairy tales, and even they had their hardship. And I know that they say they live happily ever after, but you don't really know the ending of that. And your life, the fact that you're still standing today, shows proof that you have been victorious in other things in your life and that you're still standing. And then that brings you to the E where you want to get excited because you want to be able to know that you're about to grow. Every time that you've been through a hardship, even though it might have broken your heart, even though it might have broken your bone, even though it might have broken your mind, it still built you up. It still makes you this mosaic piece that makes you this wonderful and beautiful person that you have turned out to be. And then you want to get to this place where you want to remind yourself where you're trying to go. So even though you're dealing with stress, even though things are very difficult, if you can come back and refocus on where your goal is, sometimes you're able to allow the distractions to stay that just distractions while you still keep going. And then there's that place where you want to care for yourself because something has actually happened to you, right? You want to take time to heal. One thing that we don't like to do, especially when it comes to mental health, is that because we're not cut, bruised, or broken or with a bandage, we don't want to have the conversation that our mental health might be broken, that there's a place where, like, I've been suicidal. Not just once, unfortunately, when I was like raped and then on top of it got pregnant and then had to abort my kid and then had this place where I was suicidal when I was a teenager. I was also suicidal after my first accident because my pills were messing with my head that I had to voluntarily admit myself into a hospital for my safety. We don't want to admit when we're broken or we're messed up. And if you can't take space for yourself to heal, then you can't take space to like be the best person that you can be. And when people don't deal with that, that carries with them. There's like that Erica Badu. I don't want to be a bag lady. There are certain things that I need to just let go of. And yeah, my dad did some really bad things to me when I was younger. But the fact is I'm still standing today. What is it that I want to do with myself? Yeah, somebody molested me, somebody raped me, my ex did things to me. Like, yeah, but there's still a place where it's like, is this going to be what makes me or breaks me? I have a choice how long I'm going to have my pity party. And I have a choice on when I'm going to get up and keep dusting and keep moving because that's what we love when we watch the movies. We love the person that's gotten down and then they get up and they still fight for what it is that they're going for. So if I can believe in something else or believe in a movie, why can't I believe in myself? But I got to take care of me to make that happen. And then there's that place where you have to outreach and outsource to others because the other thing that comes with the mental health is we don't want to go to a psychologist. We don't want to go to a therapist. We don't want to go to a psychiatrist. People don't understand the difference. They just hear these words. They hear counselor. They hear therapy, and culture or just influence causes them to be in a place where they're like, no, but there's such a freedom of when you go and you get therapy and you get counseling and you can talk freely to an unbiased person about your life situation. And it's not they don't know every single thing, but they can talk to you directly, how it builds you, how it creates you. Go out and find support groups, go out and find resources. If you have benefits, see if you have benefits, or your parents have benefits, or your spouse has benefits to help you with those counselings. There's free 211 and 411 and hotlines to help you, whether you think it's something small as a mother that's having, dealing with some of the depression that comes, the postpartum depression, whether it's someone that's grieving, not just simply because you lost somebody, but you moved and you have to re-identify for yourself. There's so many different things that if you know that you're not happy and you wake up sad every day, go and get that help. And when you do get into this where this mindset is how will you develop during this time? When your hardship comes, how are you going to grow? If you recognize that that situation is going to somehow make you stronger, that something is going to bud out of it, that something's going to blossom and bloom and be beautiful out of it, be excited that you're about to elevate, because every hardship makes you better. How will you fight for your voice and your freedom in this time? You know what I'm saying? How will you let this situation define you? Every situation, good or bad, how you react to it, how you respond to it, how you elevate to it, how you fall down to it, how you bow to it, how you respect it, how you're humbled by it, how you grow from it. All of those different things makes you is about your mindset. Am I going to be victorious through this, or am I going to be defeated? Am I going to be developed, or am I going to be drained? You know? And then finally, and it took me a while to realize this, but if nobody tells you this, the R is remember that your life is a roller coaster. It's never a smooth ride. You can be on a roller coaster ride and it'll go like this all of a sudden, then it'll go like this all of a sudden, and you'll jerk and you'll come back and you'll think. And sometimes you're just like this. And sometimes you're smiling, and sometimes you're screaming, and sometimes you can't breathe. But that's what life is. And if you understand that life is a roller coaster, it doesn't matter what comes across your plate. You're just going to understand that it's either for a season or reason or a lifetime, and that it's going to change you, and that you're going to recover. Remember that you're going to recover, and that you've done that before. So even when you walk in, that's that victorious place. I'm coming out of this. I don't know how I'm coming out of this. I might come out of this in a wheelchair. I might come out of this with a broken arm, but I'm going to come out of this. And that's what makes you amazing. And the last thing that I want people to remember when it comes to all of this is that you have, you can, and you will always be resilient. There's ways for you to be resourceful. You've been resilient. You wouldn't be the age that you are if you weren't. And these are the things that I've learned through my life, that no matter what comes on my door, I can still find peace in the middle of chaos, if that makes sense.
Oh my goodness. I feel like that was so beautifully put. I loved how you touched on the importance of people finding that support, whether
Mhm,
through a therapist or a psychiatrist or a psychologist, and just finding that support group that can just lift them up. And again,
mhm,
the acronym, and I'm going to make you repeat that acronym so the viewers can just write it down very simple, because I think it was so elegantly put. Again, just reframing your mindset. Processing what is distracting and what's not. And when you talked about the overviewing, I thought of wise mind, because usually when I'm supporting people, I always look at it as like your wise mind. You need to reflect on what emotionally is triggering you, what is like your logical mind, and then you need to find that middle ground where you're saying, okay, yeah, you're looking at things, but you're reframing it and you're overviewing it. That's why I like that. Oh, that overview. And just like really just figuring out how that all ties into like the bigger picture. But I think you even take it a step further by looking at like the V for the victoriousness, and excited, and just that whole encompass of that acronym I think is so powerful. And
thank
people
you.
need to hear that, and understand that, again, I like when you say life is a roller coaster and it is a journey, it is. And so I always like to tell people, like, mental health is a spectrum. Sometimes we have good mental health, sometimes we have bad mental health, just depending on where we are in life and what's happening to ourselves, like what situations that we're going through, whether it's a actual traumatic crisis or a developmental crisis through like a life change, and what that
Mhm,
actually looks like, and how
mhm.
we're able to kind of navigate those spaces. So I feel like you kind of gave everybody a tool of how to. So I'm gonna ask you one more time to kind of just put out that acronym so people could just write it out if they want to, it's super,
Okay, here
super.
we go. O is for doing an overview. Take an overview of what is really going on in your current situation. V is for victorious. Walk into the situation knowing you will walk out. E is for being excited that you are about to grow. R is for remind yourself where you are trying to go. Refocus on what is happening. C is for care for yourself through it all. O is to outreach and outsource to others. M is about your mindset. How are you going to develop and grow? How are you going to have your freedom and voice? And R is that you want to just remember life is a roller coaster. You will recover, and you have and you always will be resilient.
Ooh, that overcomer. I love it. Absolutely love it. I think it's super, super amazing.
Thank you.
And it's funny because I think it kind of leads nicely into like our next point. Just like in terms of how that affects like, your mental health of the struggles that you've gone through. And maybe I should have probably related with that first because you kind of showed a nutshell of, some of the struggles that you've went through, how you literally built a beautiful framework of overcoming it. And throughout your journey, because this is a journey, there must have been some struggles like with your mental health. And you did touch upon that a little bit. I'm gonna get you to elaborate.
Um, so I'm not gonna lie, the struggle with my mental health has been a battle. And it's a battle with every new situation, especially when it's a situation that I've never dealt with before. Once I've dealt with it, it kind of becomes repetitive. But in terms of, I've been diagnosed with being mild to severe depressed. I've been suicidal. Like it's just the spectrum has just been like, so when I talk, I'm talking from understanding it where your mind has just been so difficult. But um it's a battle that what's really funny is it's a battle that I didn't mind that I went through. Um I had to figure out what was really true and what was not. Like when you're depressed, you have to figure out what people are saying. Is it really true or are you hearing things in your head? You know, when you're in pain, you have to figure out, you know, how much can I tolerate? You know, there's a place where psychologically you want to give up. You're like, and there's the like we don't talk about the woe is me and the why is it happening to me and the, you know, if I did something wrong or it's not all sunshine and flowers. Let me make that really clear. Depression and suicidal thoughts can be a very, very dark place. And we don't even discuss that 1 in 10 people actually have that go through that. That's the stats for teenagers. Dentists are another stat, adults are another stat. But it's it's not an easy place to come out of. And that is why I had to learn different tools. I had to learn breathing tools. I had to learn tools on what colors to wear when I was depressed. Like if I'm not feeling well, I put on bright colors. You know what I mean? It's now just a habit for me. There's a place where I've had to learn where if I'm in a dark place, I will send out a mass text to a lot of friends and family and say, please pray for me right now. You know what I'm saying? I will um I will even say to my friends, you need to take me out. I go for drives. I love nature. It's calming. Getting out of the city, getting away from the noise, having peace, being able to scream. People don't people don't tell you that it is okay to just go into a corner and just scream it out. Nobody gives you permission to be like, I want to give you permission that if you're in a dark place, you have the right to be in that dark place. But when are you going to come out of it? That is my challenge to you. And these are the different things that I've been faced with. My sister has actually, um, the one thing that has always kept me going, always, always, always. My sister, when I was in my teenage years, had said to me one time, is this going to be the thing that breaks you? You know, I've seen you go through so much. Is this going to be the thing that breaks you? And if this is the thing that breaks you, then you're allowed. You have been through hell and high water. You are allowed to stop here. But if this is not where you want to stop, if this is not where you want to settle, this is not where you want your last voice to be, then find a way to get up. And every single time, people don't tell me this, but I have a choice. I have a choice when these things happen, when this mindset comes in, when this darkness comes in, when the peace comes in, when the love comes in and the hope. Because the other thing is mental health is not just about the dark side. There's the good side too, fighting for the light, fighting for the peace, fighting for the joy, fighting for the happiness. And I have more of those days than I do dark days, you know? And so these are the things that have helped me cope. This is what I tell people: you get a choice. Some people just say brush yourself off and keep going. Don't give me them crocodile tears if you're West Indian. They don't feel like they have a choice. You have a choice. It's your life. Um, you have a choice whether or not you want to get help. You have a choice whether or not you want to scream from the top of your lungs in order to like get that help. You have a choice if you're going to cut yourself, is that if that's the way that you want to get out. There's different choices that people have, but there doesn't always have to be another choice that breaks you down more. There's a choice that can actually lift you up.
Yeah, yeah. And I'm glad that you talked about one, I'm gonna touch on that last point of lifting you up and finding those choices that lift you up, but also recognizing the importance of allowing yourself to feel your feelings and what you're going through because they're real experiences. And I think a lot of times when we look at the black community or just like culturally, like how we've been set is we don't allow ourselves to feel these types of emotions. And I know a lot of it comes down from intergenerational forms of trauma that has been passed on to generations. The ideal of like, the strong black woman, the superwoman trap, and just like men having to be silenced as black men, and those type of spaces that have fueled this thing of not being allowed to feel what we wanted, like felt, even on a good day. So now when we go into the area of like mental illnesses now, and people are fighting with depression or anxiety, and it's no, you need to figure out how to get over it. No, you're not allowed to feel like this. You need to be strong, or you need to again wipe the crocodile tear them from your eyes. Like, like move beyond it. But the reality is, what you said is your sister gave you permission. Your sister gave you permission to just sit in that. And like to me, if I look at it, just like when I've supported clients in the past, is when they've had permission, it has given them the most flexibility to grow in that space, to say, okay, I'm allowed to, now I can think beyond how I'm feeling and move towards what's next, or what is that choice for me, and what is those healthy optional choices in terms of overcoming. And I liked how you talked about wearing bright clothes when you're feeling down, or screaming if you needed to scream. And I think those are really, really valuable points that people can take away to say, listen, if I'm battling through hardship, these are some strategies I can use, and that will help me to like overcome and move forward. And again, I'm gonna keep using that overcome word because, girl, just hearing you, like, I know you're an overcomer. I know you're a fighter, and I
But
see.
we all are. We
Mm-hmm.
all are. That's the one thing that I need everybody to already know. As much as I might hold that title, anybody that is watching this, anybody that is listening to this, you need to understand that you already are an overcomer. You've overcome school, you've overcome hardships, you've overcome heartbreaks, you've overcome relationships, you've been able to overcome in your life already. So just know that it's taking that mindset and the tools that you've learned in a different aspect of your life and now applying it to a new one. But you're already an overcomer. So yeah.
That is amazing. And you know, um, I remember at the beginning of this conversation, you talked about like having that balance between pain and pleasure, and just also you touched upon like that pain tolerance. Could you like broaden that scope a little bit more, like elaborate on that point a little bit?
So my spine right now hurts the hell out of me. My spine does. I had treatment on my knee earlier, right? Um, my body hurts right now, but I'm smiling because I'm actually doing something that I love to do. There are times where we don't give ourselves permission for our bodies to just relax or something. There are times, as a chronic pain conqueror, I don't like to say, I'm not just a warrior, but a conqueror. I'm going to have pain no matter what. We're going to have psychological pain, mental pain, physical pain. We're going to have pain. but you can choose where you have that pain. You get to choose the environment that you want to have it in, right? And what is happening today? You get to choose the environment that you want to have it in. And what is so amazing is that people don't understand that. Um, I think COVID has actually been an amazing thing that has opened people's mindsets. So if you don't have to work in four walls in order to have your business, in order for you to be successful and to do your work for your company, you know, I can put my body in any situation or any environment when a situation arises. Is that making, do you get what I'm saying when I make that correlation?
Mhm.
We sit down and we think that if I'm going to be depressed, I need to only be in my home. I need to hide myself. I need to be in darkness. And that's for somehow, what's the word I'm looking for? It's not a bias. It's not there's a thought process of this is what depression needs to look like. This is what it needs to look like. But people go to work and they're depressed. People go to work and they're not mentally proper. People can look very pretty and their mindset's not okay. Um, we need to stop. We need to stop thinking that it just fits in a certain box. And because we need to break down that box, it means that the healing can be broken down as well. The box for how to heal can be broken down as well. Sometimes me going to the beach, the lake, the trees, the nature, and just putting myself what we like to call grounding, putting myself just in the sand or walking through the water is something that is healing because it's nature, it's natural. It gives things back to your body. You know, we need to stop thinking that I am. Um, there are people that and I've been there where you just don't want to leave your bed, like you just don't want to leave your bed, you know. But sitting down by the window and letting the sun hit your face or touch your skin or opening the door just to let the fresh air in, even if you're in a balcony, while you cry through whatever it is that you go through, that's a way of healing too.
Mhm.
Sometimes, it is just sitting down and being on the TV and watching a movie and binging on a series sometimes. I've had to do that with my body. There's days where my body's like, you're not moving, just to get to the bathroom, I'm crying. You know what I'm saying? And um and I have to get food delivered because I can't even make it to the kitchen. But if I get up to go to the bathroom, I'll open the windows because instead of staying in a dark room, just letting some kind of light in helps my heart, you know? And I like to say, like, when people are like, "Are you okay?" If I'm not mentally okay, I'll say my heart's hurting right now. And sometimes people are like, emotionally or physically, like, and I'm like, my heart hurts. You know what I'm saying? Because we relate that to our heart. Our heart is in pain. I've just found different ways to express how I am, and I've also given myself the permission to be in that space sometimes. You're allowed to be in that space. That's the other thing. Even if somebody else doesn't give you that permission, it is your life, it is your space, it is your health, it is your body. You are allowed to give yourself, I don't care if it's 5 minutes, I don't care if it's 5 days, 5 months, but you are allowed to give yourself the space to heal and to find happiness and to grieve or to overcome whatever it is that is taking you into a dark space,
And I
right?
think that's so powerful. I love how like just so eloquently put in terms of like our bodies and just recognizing like how we need to place our bodies based on what's happening, whether it's like a grounding exercise. And it's funny because I was reading Gabor Mate's book in When the Body Says No and just looking at hidden stressors in our bodies based on like how we hold energy, how we hold things, and how it internally it also affects our physical health. So
Right,
understanding
right,
when our body is saying we might need to be in a space or we might need to do something that's grounding to just bring us back. And the reality is I think there's such a disconnect right now in our society with people and their bodies. Is sometimes we don't people don't listen to their bodies. And I know for me personally, like when I'm trying to like relax myself, I literally go through like a mindfulness training of like relaxing from my toes and working myself up to like my knees. And so I'm recognizing all the pains and the positions that my body wants to be in. Even if it's my arm's like, okay, nope, it wants to be on the left side, like crossed over my body, or something different, just because that's what my body is saying. But if
Yeah.
we take the time to listen to what our body is saying, it's how are we really grounding ourselves or putting ourselves in that position to even heal. And you talked about that box of how we see things and how we perceive things. And you know historically everything has been put in a box and been like, this is what it is. But once you unravel it, you're right, there's tons of options for people to heal and pick and have that freedom and choice to say, okay, this is what I need right now to heal. This is what I need for my body right now for me to come to a better mindset, a growth mindset, for me to be in a better place or space, or to help overcome, or like whatever trials is going on. This is what I need. And I think that was so beautifully put.
People don't know that there's dance therapy, there's aqua therapy, there's art therapy, there's writing therapy. Like, people don't understand that the mental health community has grown in so many different ways. There's acting, there's drama therapy. You don't have to, like, it's not about just going to someone's office and laying on a couch. There's so many ways. Fishing can be therapy. There's so many ways to get your therapy to relieve your tension. People, and that's the other thing that people don't understand. Like,
It's funny that
take it out of the box.
it's funny that you make that point. Is I was actually on a panel discussion talking about mental health, and we had a psychiatrist on there, and he's like, the biggest therapy for me, and this is coming from a psychiatrist who's a professional doctor, the biggest therapy for me is sitting in a studio and listening and watching people create music. That
Yeah.
is what he's like. You would think as a psychiatrist, going to another psychiatrist or somebody in my professional field would be better, but he's like, actually it makes things worse. But this is his type, and again, it's just identifying what fits for you and what works for you, and recognizing that people have choice, freedoms, and options. And sometimes it takes a little bit more of exploring, or this is
It
why I
does.
have a platform so people can understand, like, this is vast. Like, there's so much that we can do to make sure we have good and healthy habits to maintain positive mental health.
Listen, if there can be, Baskin Robbins can have what, 51 flavors, 50 or whatever, 31 flavors. And if chefs and if food can have a wide variety of cuisines, why can't therapy also have different genres and options? Like, what's happening is that people have grown, and because they've been coming out of this box, they're now creating the therapy that they needed to give to other people. And so you're actually getting people that have studied it, you're people that are trying new things, but there's options. There's so many options.
And
Yeah.
it's funny that you talk about that too, because before, and I think what is even normalized is the whole patriarchy, white supremacy style of mental health and how to treat mental health. And again, it doesn't fit in the box. So I remember writing a paper about the superwoman stereotype and like how to support Black women if they're having mental health crisis, and the fact that they're misdiagnosed and they don't have like adequate treatment. And the reality is that the current system, like CBT or ACT or like those type, doesn't actually fit into those frameworks of what it is that we can relate to. Because guess what? If we already have a positive outlook, it's not going to help, right? But if you're getting through it to say, you know what, I need to dance and express myself. I need to sing to express myself. I need, like, you're starting to mold it. And Black feminism, that whole theory kind of touches upon how you can actually find or create these spaces, embracing those assets that we have
Hmm.
within Black culture,
Hmm.
building on that as a way to therapy therapeutically help somebody move through their struggles or whatever they need to overcome.
There was a study done, and I always remember this. We did a show um, on my chronic pain conversations. We did a show on Black and chronic pain. And we were doing some research, and we found that a couple of things. Out of 111 doctors they were surveyed, only 10% didn't believe that based on Black people's like skin, their culture, that they thought they were stronger. They just assumed that because you were Black, that you just had a stronger mentality. So as soon as you walk in the door, there's already a bias because of your skin color about your mental health, right? There is a place where unfortunately we have to advocate a little bit more, or you have to find a community that understands it. And that's okay too. You know what I'm saying? Everything there, if anything in life, you learned that it's not just one way, it's not cookie cut, it's not one way. There's so many different options, but there is a bias because of our skin color that they're like, we're just tougher and harder. No, we just don't complain as much. You know what I'm saying?
And you know what? Actually, adding to that, historically, and this has actually been studied, and I've read studies on it. They have
Mm,
said that Black people can tolerate pain more than um, white people, actually, which is very far from the truth. And
exactly.
I remember that gynecologist who, like, in the like maybe like 30s, like when like the slave era was still a thing, so like maybe 18th century, whatever, he did those experiments on Black women's bodies and said they don't need medication or pain um,
Right.
because they can tolerate pain better. You know,
Right.
that has been a very, that has continued through like medical discourses and
Is
things that happen
yep.
today. Um, Specifically, I remember even working when I was working as a counselor at a domestic violence shelter, and a Black woman
Mm,
would come in and they'd be like, she'd have the superwoman front, like she has it all together. Like, nope, she's good. She doesn't need support. I was like, listen, I know this. I will advocate it because I already know what's going on. Don't play a fool. And when I sat that woman down, she was bawling and like, how did you know? And I'm like, because I know. Like, I'm a part of your community. I get it, sister. You know,
yeah.
those are
Oh
the
my
things,
God.
we
Yeah.
need.
Here, what really interests me, and here's the one thing that we need to do that we don't do, is we need to draw up our own community. Because as much as we might be dealing with the physicians that might be biased based on our skin color, we need to come from the place where it's like our culture has also caused us to be quiet. And so we've got a double-edged sword that is not working for us. And you've got to be the one that is the trailblazer in your family and breaks that cycle and lets them know it's okay to have a conversation about it. It's okay to deal with it. Life is happening. And if you don't talk about it, doesn't mean it goes away. It just keeps building up. You know what I'm saying? It's like a reservoir. They will have the gate shut and the water builds up and it builds up and it builds up and it builds up. But there's going to be a point where they either have to let that reservoir gate come up and let some of that come out, or the reservoir is going to overflow and it's going to affect the community. That is us with our mental health. There needs to be a place for you to be able to lift that gate, to let that stress out. Otherwise, it's going to flow. And every time there's a hardship, that's more rain and more thunder coming into that reservoir. How are you going to release it in a way that it doesn't damage your community, in that being you and your family and your friends? Think about this. If your mental health is not in place, that affects your kids, that affects your parents, your family, that affects your partnership or your relationships, that affects your colleagues and your work. It affects all different things into every single space. You are influencing other people if you are not okay. But when you start to allow yourself to be okay, you then get to be a light for other people. You then get to show people how to shift and turn and how to talk to you. If you go into those environments and they're stressing you out, you don't have the voice or the tools to articulate yourself or advocate for yourself, each of those environments are going to stay toxic. But if you grow, then you go into each one, you learn how to maneuver them, and you go stronger in each one of them, and you change your environment. It's a powerful, powerful thing. You working on yourself and becoming better, it doesn't just end with you. You leave a legacy on who you interact with, right? And it's not to put pressure, but it's just to show your influence. Whether it's good health or bad health, you're still influential.
Oh my goodness, I feel like you are just dropping those bombs of wisdom. And, typically I like to elaborate, but, we are running out of time.
Yeah,
So,
sorry.
of time, like, no, no worries. I feel like I could have this conversation with you all day. Like I literally like we can go on and on and on and on about this very
We
topic.
could.
There's so many different like nuances and points. Like, do you know what I'm saying? But unfortunately, for the sake of time, like we have to wrap things up. So, what I'm gonna ask, if you can give like any tips or advice to anybody who might be struggling with mental health, um, or just like ways that they could probably cope, and just like something
Okay.
simple, just to wrap it up.
First one is a breathing technique that my trainer always has me do. As much as it sounds like it's crazy, it's amazing. Doesn't matter if you're in the car, doesn't matter if you're lying down. There's the breathe in for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds. Breathe in through your nose for 3 seconds, breathe out for 3 seconds. That is your first go to no matter what happens in your life. It is just that place that grounds you. The other thing is that there are Facebook groups, there are support groups, there's in-group counseling. You can Google for people that don't know. A lot of people don't know. In Canada and America, there's the psychological association, the psychiatrist association, the counselor association. And when you go in there, they actually have a lot of filters where you can find someone by genre or culture or their topic or their specialty. And so when we say that there's lists, it's not just domestic. It could be just teenage life. It could be being a wife, being a mother, being depressed, dealing with mental health, going into a new work. Like there's so many different life topics that is available out there that I want to encourage people to go to those sites and take a look at them. And you can also Google, doesn't have to be psychologists. It could be therapy, something that again, it could be art, it could be dance, it could be something else. But use the World Wide Web to be a benefit for you and a resource tool for you to find out who else is out there. There are meet me groups that are out there. There are a lot of different places to have resources. So even if you didn't know before, you can know now and just go and search for yourself. Take 5 minutes, do it during a commercial break, but do it for yourself.
Thank you. Thank you so much for sharing that. And where can people find you?
Okay, so they call me the overcomer. That's TheOverCom, just the R. I'm an overcomer. You can find me on Instagram. You can find me on Facebook. My website is www.theovercomer. Oh, I'm going to say it again. TheOverComr.com. I actually have, for those that are interested, if you go to my site or if you go to my Facebook group and you join any of my chronic pain groups, or you just like me, I'm about to actually, if by the time this airs, I'm going to be having my first fibromyalgia chronic pain free workshop that is coming out for September, which is for Pain Awareness Month. So I'm really, really excited about that. And yeah, that's pretty much how you find me.
Nice. Okay, so I will drop that on the comments below so people can click on the link
Thank you.
and find you, so they can touch base with you and get more amazing insights, and hey, some life coaching skills too. So thank you so much
Thank you.
for joining this episode of the Therapy Addicts. And until next time, guys, we're gonna keep it fresh and make sure that we're creating positive mental health, well-being, and talking about everything in between. So